Hi, it's Kevin Markman. Welcome back to Relationship Ready Talks. Thank you very much for joining, and hopefully you can relate to something today. Today, we have our guest, Kevin Willard. Thank you very much for coming.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, Kev.
You're very welcome. We appreciate you coming.
This is a lot cozier than our house stage, by the way.
Oh,
I didn't like that setup. I felt weird doing it up on the stage. So
right. But it feels comfortable here?
It's good here, yeah. Nice comfy couch. It's opposed to a dark, weird bar with...
Yeah, it's a very different environment there, too. So
yeah, and it stinks there.
Yeah, and this is the first one I'm doing here, too, so I'm hoping this goes well and we can continue to do other ones here, too. So that'd be good. So tell me and tell anyone who is watching a little bit about you and what would be important to know about you.
Okay, my name's Kevin Willard. I know Markman here from doing stand-up comedy. We do a bunch of open mics together and some shows. And that's basically what I focus most of my time on, is working on that and writing and just trying to grind the mics. And I also, on the side, have a little gutter business. I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend for 4 years, and it's going better than any relationship that I've ever been in by a lot. And I live with her in a house with her and her 5-year-old daughter, who's basically like a daughter to me now, technically, because I've been with her for more than half of her life. And I've been like watching her this week, taking care of her for the first time, just me and her spending the day together, because she got COVID. And, you know, the CDC says you have to wait 5 days, which is like, I had it before her. I waited 5 days, had 0 symptoms, went out. But she has to wait 10 days, according to the school nurse. So her mom, my girlfriend, was put in a situation where she had to go back to work, but had no one to watch her. So then for the first time, I stepped up and I was like, okay, I think I've been around in this relationship long enough. I think I can handle...
You're fully relational and fully parent.
Yeah, I think I can act as the parent and just take care of her for the day. And I did that for the past 3 days, and it went really well. And I was actually really happy because I've watched her before, but not for long periods of time. And then these past 3 days, we had the whole day together, so we had to figure out all these activities to do. I took her sledding. We drew a bunch. We were watching like drawing videos on YouTube, like how to do SpongeBob or Homer Simpson and stuff like that. Nice. And yeah,
sounds like a good week.
So mostly, you want me to cover?
I want you to cover a relationship that you choose.
This is
start off from the beginning of it.
Yeah, so. That'd be funny if I was like wanted to go back and talk about my high school relationship.
You could. It's up to you, because what we're hoping is people can relate.
Yeah, there's interesting
most
stuff.
People have chosen ones that are in the past that aren't current because they needed to learn something from it. But if you have stuff you've learned from this one as well too, then we'll talk about this one. And if she's good with it, then that's good too.
She's fine. Yeah, that's why she dropped me off, and she knows what we're doing. Obviously, it'd be funny if I lied and I was like, "We're working on jokes," and then I come in here and I was like, "She's such a."
That would be a total twist. That would be the twist of the joke. Yeah.
And then I come out and I'm like, "Yeah, we got a few good jokes," but no, she's great, and obviously, I would hope everyone learns something from any relationship they've been in, and I could tell you interesting things about all of my relationship, but yeah, obviously I want to focus on the current one because that's the most meaningful one by far to me. So, and it's happening right now. So
that's great. Okay, so tell me about the beginning of this relationship. Where did it first happen? What was the first connection? Meeting?
My last relationship was kind of falling apart, and I started talking to her before I had broken up with my ex-girlfriend, but not like in a sketchy way, I guess. Like I didn't feel guilty about it because we were just like replying to each other's stories on Instagram or whatever, but then I was like...
Is that how you knew her, or how did you first
Actually, I never met her in real life. Like, it sounds lame when people ask. I'm like, I met her on Instagram, but we had a bunch of mutual friends. Like, my sister knew her before I did from, like, a long time ago at the Penny Arcade or whatever, shit like that.
Yeah, okay.
So, like, a lot of people that a lot of friends that I have grew up in Webster and knew her and were friends with her as kids. But,
So did you know of her before?
Not really, actually.
No?
Yeah, and then somehow she knew my sister from way back then. She was like, "Oh, I didn't even ever know Becky had a brother." So like one day, she just followed me on Instagram like 4 years ago or whatever, and I was like, "Who's this hot mom?" Following
so that was your initial impression.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so I followed her back, and then we just started slowly like replying to each other's stories, and that would turn into conversations. And then
And this was while you were in the
while I was in the past relationship. But once I started to get the feeling that even though, like I said, we never were having any sexual stuff where I felt guilty about what we were saying, it was really just small talk.
Okay.
But like it was the jokes we were making sometimes were enough for me to be like, I actually am really interested in this person, and my relationship that I was currently in was already failing miserably, and it was like one of those things where we broke up for the right reasons, got back together for the wrong reasons. So we were in that like last leg of the relationship,
okay.
And then I was like, why am I doing this? And then just from like these tiny conversations I was having with Tori, I was like, okay, I'm not saying to myself like, oh, I'm gonna date this girl, but I just told myself, well, if I even have this tiny bit of interest based on these tiny conversations, it's probably best that I do the right thing and exit this relationship now, as opposed to what I've done in the past, where a lot of people my age, like early 20s and mid 20s, I've seen friends of mine break up, get back together, break up, get back together, literally fake amount of times, like so many times where I'm like, are you guys playing a prank on everyone? Because that's what it seems. And I've done that in past relationships, not that crazy, maybe like broke up 2-3 times, got back together, but this time I was like, okay, I'm not doing that again. This clearly isn't going to work, and the fact that I'm even slightly thinking about this other girl that I've barely had these tiny conversations with, I was like, alright, I ended it with her, and once I ended it with her, the conversations with her, Tori got a lot deeper. And
so that was a sign for you that not to go back.
Yeah.
And what told you that it was healthier and a better thing for you to build on these small conversations?
Well, I guess I was just I was having fun talking to her, and my ex-girlfriend, at the girl I was dating it with at the time, was actually like a great person, and we both agreed that it wasn't working, and she felt that way, but I feel like both of us were like scared to actually be like, okay, we're done. You know what I mean? Like, you ever heard
you had stuff in common, and
yeah, like, or you know, and sometimes you're afraid to be alone, but you're also afraid to like be the person that breaks up. You know what I mean? Some people are scared.
To be the bad guy.
Yeah, they're like, like, you know how a lot of people do this. They don't want to do that, so they'll purposely be bad in the relationship to try to get them to do it, so they don't feel like which is insane, obviously, if you like really break it down, which it's way worse.
But it happens.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Okay.
It reminds me of people that tell you they're going to be there in 15 minutes, and then they're there in 30 minutes, and I'm like, well, you knew that I was going to find out. You know what I mean? It's like, you didn't trick anyone. You're better off just being authentic and breaking up, as opposed to this giant facade just so you can feel better. But you're tricking yourself, so whatever. Anyways, am I getting off track?
No, so that's what was the egg that was hatched to be able to...
Well, that just gave me I was like, alright, these conversations, like, I didn't feel guilty, but I also did feel, if these conversations become any more frequent, any longer, then I probably should feel guilty, because at the time it was just like harmless back and forth. And I did want to talk to her more, and I actually did want to meet her. So I was like, let me just first responsibly end this relationship that me and my girlfriend at the time both know isn't working. There were no hard feelings, and then we ended it.
Okay, and that was a committed monogamous relationship?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so that's why you didn't feel guilty until you had to responsibly end it, and then you were like, okay, I'm not going to feel guilty because
exactly. I was
not
just
going
like,
to go further.
Yeah, I was like, if I want to talk to this person more, and I want to meet her in real life, but I'm not going to go any further if this relationship's still going on. So then I ended that one, and then at that point I was like, okay, now I'm in the clear, and I can actually just get to know this person the way I want to.
Okay, and you had other reasons you wanted to end it because both of you wasn't working.
Yeah, it should have been over. It should have been over anyways.
Story.
It was in that period where, at one point, you know, in our relationship, we would be together every day, and then it was at a point where like we were seeing each other once every 2 weeks. So it's technically kind of over already.
Okay.
Like, I hadn't seen her in a week at the time, and I had to drive to her house just to break up to her with her face to face. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to do it on the phone. It's just weird to me. Because then the next time you see them, it's like weird. Just like have that last conversation and like communicate, and then end the relationship without any weird shit. You know what I mean?
did that and felt clear.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then
what happened from there?
Then from there, I just kept talking to Tori more and more, kept liking her more and more, specifically her sense of humor. Like we both had the same odd sense of humor that maybe not a lot of people would think is funny. And one of our mutual friends, my friend Alicia, was actually good friends with both of us, even though we didn't know each other yet. Okay. So I kind of talked to Alicia, and Alicia talked to both of us about each other, basically. And I went out to lunch with Alicia, and then she was like, "Tori's actually interested in you." And this is like maybe a month after I
continuing to talk, but after breaking up.
After breaking up and continuing to talk, and then I was like, "Yeah, we should meet." And I think actually the first time we ever met, we were talking, and she said she just got a new tattoo, and she didn't have any cellophane to put over it. She needed like plastic wrap to like keep it. So this is funny actually. I dropped it off to her. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not doing anything," and she's at home with the baby or whatever, so she couldn't go out and get it. It was nighttime in the winter, and I was telling her that I was having hard times with my anxiety, and then she said that she had a CBD pen, is what she said. Okay. So we kind of traded. So I'll drop the cellophane for the CBD pen. So then I get the pen from her, and we kind of meet real quick. Like she looks back on it, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't invite me into your car?" And I was like, "I didn't know." Like, you know what I mean? It was,
and she didn't invite you into her house.
Yeah, same. So,
but there was hey, there's something here.
I guess so. I mean, not from that interaction alone. It was just like from the mostly from the conversations we had. Just
and you had talked enough to talk about anxiety and
we got deep into that, because she was like, "It's helped me with my anxiety and it helps me go to sleep." So I brought the cellophane to her and got the CBD, and then later she's like, "Oh, this guy didn't invite me in my car," kind of just give me a hard time about it. Like, but I was like, I didn't know if that was weird or not, so I just made the exchange what we said we were doing. But then I go home, and this is like a side story. I start puffing the CBD, and I'm not feeling anything, but also not being patient. Maybe like 45 minutes in, I'm texting her about it, and then this movie's on in the background. I think I still remember what movie it was. It was Crazy Stupid Love. You ever seen that movie? Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling.
Oh, okay.
But it's like Ryan Gosling's talking in the background while I'm on my phone, and then I just start hearing it in a weird way, and then I look down at my hand, and then I'm like, I'm high right now.
So you had the altered reality with high, not just the CBD.
I was high, like really high, and I hadn't been high in years, and the reason why I don't smoke weed at all is because of my chronic pain condition. I have chest pain, and when I smoke weed, I actually love how it makes me think and feel, other than the fact that it amplifies the pain to just an intolerable level. So when that happened, the pain became so great that I had to like take a long walk outside, and it was like 10 degrees out. But I have to like get my mind off it. Like feeling cold, a different sensation takes me away from the pain.
From the internal pain.
Yeah,
and you were texting her while this was happening.
Yeah, and I told her, I was like, I'm about to go for a walk because this is excruciating pain, which is really, to me, like devastating, because I used to smoke a lot of weed and enjoyed it a lot, and it did help me feel better, and I used it to, like, I would love to use it now to write. You know what I mean? Right. Like just to experiment.
You like the way your mind goes.
Yeah, exactly. Just to get into a different headspace. So it's kind of devastating for me that I'm not able to do that just because of this pain conditioner. And I know it's not the smoke alone, because I smoked cigarettes before, and
that doesn't do it for you.
I mean, the pain goes up a little bit just because it's clearly smoke in my chest. But when I get high, the pain gets to like 80.
Oh, whereas she understood this, or she was like, "Oh,
she understood it. She felt bad."
It was weed, not CBD.
Yeah. And then she said that she told me it was weed. It was like this weird misunderstanding. But the reason why she offered it came from a conversation we were having about CBD. So when she said, "I have a pen," I assumed that it was CBD. Okay. Yeah. So that.
And she assumed it was a weed pen. So you had this romantic comedy miscommunication thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a funny.
When you first met,
it was a funny situation, even though, well, it actually, like, as bad as it hurt, and as, like, I probably had to walk outside for, like, a half hour, but then this is one of the only times that I've been able to do this successfully, and I haven't really been that high since, or wanted to, or tried to. But when I got back from the walk, I got in my car and put on a guided meditation, and it says, one of these pain meditations I have says to, like, usually you focus on your breath. This one says focus on the pain and, like, go inside of the pain and, like, just feel only where it is. And, like, I did that, and I felt it start moving around and shifted, and it dissipated.
Okay.
And it was, like, that was 4 years ago now, and it was one of the most wild things that's happened to me. And I wish I could do it again. And sometimes I'm like, should I get high just to see if I can do that again? Because I have chest pain right now. All the time, 100% of the time.
And if you could do that,
then maybe I could figure out a way to beat it with weed by walking into the fire.
Okay.
Because I did it once, but I don't want to risk it.
Right.
And get high and have it not work. So it's been I think about it all the time, but it's been 4 years and I haven't tried it yet.
Right.
But
and maybe you could do it without the weed too.
Yeah, of course.
That's a process also.
Yeah.
So,
but the weed...
But that connected you to her, or that...
Yeah, it was just... I mean, it was a funny misunderstanding, and I wasn't... Like, maybe if it was someone else, I would have been mad, but I liked her so much already where I was just like, I don't care.
It was cute or adorable or endearing.
Yeah, I was like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I got through it, and I actually ended up being happy that it happened because... when I was able to meditate and get out of that, it was the first time that I was able to do something like that, and I was
enough that you want to repeat that experience, and that connected you to
exactly. Yeah.
her also. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So where did it go from there?
After that, we hung out for the first time. We went out to a bar with our friend Alicia, who claims to have introduced us, but she didn't really introduce us. She
claims to be matchmaker.
Yeah, she always says that. Yeah, and we're like, all right, well, we were talking before you even knew we were talking, but whatever.
But she was like, yes, they like each other, yeah, person. Okay.
But she did talk to both of us and kind of like go back and forth, and so she feels like she like introduced us or whatever. Okay. But we went out to the bar with her for the first time. That's the first time we actually hung out, and I guess I was kind of nervous. I didn't really talk to her much, and she was like, "Oh no, is this guy like going to be a weirdo that like doesn't talk?" But then like shortly after that, we hung out more, and I opened up more, and then we saw that the connection we had on the internet was actually even better in real life. You know what I mean? So then after that, we started spending a lot of time together. Within like a couple weeks to a month, we were like dating officially.
Okay. What shifted you from the talking, the meeting, to the dating?
Well, we just enjoyed each other's company enough to say, let's go out again and again, and then slowly more and more frequently, to the point where then, okay, she's spending the night. And I lived alone at the time. I had a house to myself with a hot tub, which was great for the short-lived period of time.
Okay.
But I brought her over there, and then she started spending the night. And then we just didn't want to stop because we were just having a great time.
And just wanted to be with each other that much.
100%, yeah. And then we started... We like I said, we share the same sense of humor, so we started making a lot of comedy sketch videos. We've made probably over the past 4 years, I don't know, 50 of them or something.
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
Yeah, so that was nice, and it was the first time in any of the relationships I've been in. I probably only had 4 other girlfriends that lasted longer than a year. But this was the first time that I actually had an activity that I could, like, shared something in common that we could actually do together. Like every other relationship I've been in, we didn't have anything. Like, we would go to a restaurant, we'd go to a bar, we'd go hang out with friends, but we never actually had anything productive to work on together. Okay. So to have that and creative outlet to share with her,
so that creativity and that shared sense of humor,
was just super meaningful to the point where I was like, this is the best relationship I've ever been in. We can have fun together and create stuff at the same time, and then
and she felt the same way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and she said she was in a bad relationship. Well, I probably shouldn't talk about her past relationship, really.
Okay.
But her past relationship just didn't work out with the father of a daughter, and she was just having a hard time being a mother because she was a new mother, and she was just all our energies going into the kid. So she just said she didn't feel like herself anymore. So when I got together with her and we started laughing, joking, having these fun times, making these funny videos, she said it was the first time in a long time that she felt like herself. So that like was a huge
and that
deal.
opened up that part of her together with you, and it was a part of you that you hadn't been able to share with anybody else before.
Yeah.
Which made it
well, not necessarily.
meaningful.
I was made sketches with other friends before, but never like
not
with someone that I was involved with romantically, which was enormous for me. I was like, this is amazing.
Okay, so those commonalities made it even more meaningful, and you continue to do that.
We're still doing it 4 years later. We haven't made one probably, I don't know, a few weeks, but actually me and her daughter, like I said, I watched her this past week. We made one on Tuesday and one yesterday. Okay. And they both turned out really funny. I edited them pretty funny. I made her a superhero and did all this funny stuff. I green screened her snowboarding down a mountain, which was pretty funny. But
so you brought her daughter into the commonality as well too. So
100%. Yeah.
So how has that worked, and what's grown from the relationship with her and her daughter together? Did that bring you closer? Was it
100%? Yeah, that's super recent. Literally the past 2 days. But basically, Tori said when she was put in the position where she had to go back to work, but Aubrey couldn't go to school, she felt nervous to ask me if I could watch her because I just had never done that yet, and I was totally open to it. I wanted to be as much of a help to her as I possibly could, and I'd never done it before, so I was like, let me step up and act like an adult.
But she wasn't sure where she could count on you for that, or you.
Well, no, she knew she could, but she's very. She doesn't want to feel like she's like, I felt like I'm putting some burden on you, and then she kind of said, I don't feel like I should feel that way because we've been together for 4 years. You've been in this child's life for 4 years, more than half her life. So I don't know why I feel like that. And I said, you don't need to. I'll do this, and I'll do the best that I can. And it went super well. And so we're actually all really happy about that.
That's awesome.
And we made those videos which added to it, and which Tori was thrilled about to see us not only had no problems, like Aubrey didn't have any freakouts or we didn't have any issues. She listened to me. She didn't misbehave at all. All we did was have fun, make funny videos, and the day went perfectly. So we're all really excited that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we were a little nervous. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, because that's a different level that you just approached from the level you were at before, which was more between the two of you, and now it's between the three of you, but also you in a different role that she was nervous about and not sure, and you hadn't done before.
And plus, Tori in the past has been upset that I don't spend enough time with her or put enough effort into playing with her or doing activities with her. So I think it meant a lot that we were able to have that time. It went well, and we were able to make some fun videos, and we made some fun drawings. And then now we know that, when she needs to rely on me for that, she can, which is huge.
So what changed, or what was the shift in you that made you comfortable with what you're doing this week, or what was different?
Well, what was different is she just really needed me to do it. And it wasn't in the past, it would have been she's had babysitters and stuff when it was convenient, but it just wasn't convenient. She didn't even ask me in the past. But this time was different because she really needed me to do it. Okay. So she could go back to work, and it was just in a situation where, in the past when she's had babysitters, she could have asked me, but she didn't. I mean, we never really had a long conversation about it, but I suppose it's the same reason she said earlier in the week, where she felt like she was putting a burden on me. And she said she shouldn't have to feel like that, which I agreed to. You shouldn't.
Yep.
I want to be there for you. So the difference this time was that she was just between a rock and a hard place and said, I need you to do this, and I was more than happy to do what I should have been doing already at this point.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, it kind of made me almost feel like an irresponsible boyfriend in a way. I was like, as a kid, should I have been trying harder just to build my relationship with this child?
Mm-hmm.
But
do you have an answer to that now or no?
Well, I'm just distracted with, I don't want to make excuses for not putting in effort in areas where I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But not to talk too much about my chronic pain, but it kind of just rules my whole life.
Mm.
I go from one situation to the next. In wherever I am, I'm like, even at an open mic, I'm like, I can't sit in the same spot for too long. And it's just really hard to have the patience, especially with a child sometimes, because I have to really sit down and commit to being in the same spot.
So it's not necessarily that you should have, but you were put in a situation where you needed to, and then you were able to this week.
Yeah, and I was able to.
Before, you were like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it was easier because it was easier than just having a random play session when we're at home, because I'm like, oh, I should be doing this or that, or I need to get outside, or I need to go outside and take a walk, or I need to take a Klonopin, or I need to go to the gym, or I need to go to an open mic. There's just so many distractions. So when it's like, this is going to be your day, and I'm able to plan it with her, it was actually a lot easier than I thought.
Nice.
But, I mean, like I said, the pain sometimes is so bad and so distracting, it
rules your time.
It's just, it makes it so I can't, and I don't want to use it as an excuse, but it really controls me.
Okay. And how does that affect your relationship, and how was she with understanding that?
She's very supportive. She has TMJ, which has been doing similar things to her life the past, I don't know, several years on and off. But recently it's been getting bad where she'll have pain in here. And the doctor said that they need to give her all new teeth because she had braces on too long as a kid.
Oof.
Just like an extra year or something.
Yep.
So it just affected the way her mouth grew, and now she just has this insane jaw pain that's debilitating sometimes. She needs to take muscle relaxers, but apparently there's some surgery which involves removing all her teeth and putting all new teeth that are more properly aligned.
Wow.
To fix the misalignment, which is like a $40,000 surgery, by the way. Which she's putting aside money to do it because that's how bad the pain is.
Wow.
So we relate to each other in that way. We both have chronic pain
and empathy for it.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. Okay.
And I think, and that is that's huge too, because when I talk to people about it, most of the time, like, they don't understand. And the only way I can put it is, I don't remember what it's like to feel normal. I don't remember what it's like to feel zero pain, because I just, it's...
You lived it for so long.
A decade. Yeah. Since my entire adult life has been painful.
Wow.
For 11 years, actually.
And she understands that, because she's lived with pain.
Yeah. The only thing that helps is alcohol, and then, as we all know, that only helps until it doesn't. Like,
that's temporary.
Yeah, they say that, and truthfully, you're borrowing happiness from the next day. If I get really hungover, the pain gets way worse, the anxiety gets way worse, and it's just almost not worth it.
Yeah.
But at the time, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a relief at the time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I've had situations where I also have, it's like cardiophobia too, where it started with an event that I actually did have a heart problem from drug use. And I went to the emergency room, and I thought for sure I was going to die because my heart was starting and stopping in my chest, like, continuously. And I was in so much pain, so I went to the ER, and in my head I was, like, fully accepting that I was going to die. I was positive. And then I didn't, obviously. Unfortunately.
Fortunately for some people.
But, yeah, ever since then, it's just been pain, and I guess it's mini PTSD in some sort of way, where
it brings you back to
I just feel constantly I'm scared about my heart. And where was I going with that? What were we on?
You're relating to her about the chronic pain together as well, and that's the thing you connect on.
Yeah.
Also,
so she understands completely, not in the exact same way, but she has her own struggle.
Yeah.
That's not so different. So yeah.
So you've had this relationship for 4 years. It built the intimacy. You have things that you connect really strongly on. Mm-hmm. It's a positive relationship that you have. What are the things you feel like you've learned from this relationship?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just learned that based on my past relationships, I just learned that how to communicate better, like how to talk through problems as opposed to arguing. We rarely argue. Every relationship I've been in was plagued with arguments. And we just we're both really good at sitting down, getting to the root of the problem, and then just clearing it up and moving on, as opposed to just argue. So, and we get better too, because it's not like we've never had an argument. So when we do, we don't do what I've done in the past relationships, sweep it under the rug and then try to just move on.
Pretend it doesn't happen.
Which a lot of people do. Back. It's something my dad does. He'd prefer to sweep it under the rug, act like it never happened. Meanwhile, it's still under the rug, and it's festering, and it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Somebody's going to step on it, or it's going to come out at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it's under there, and it's growing, too. Mm-hmm. So next time it does come up, it's going to be a hell of a lot worse. Huh. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves with any relationship, whether it's like a familial relationship or a relationship with a friend. If there's a problem to be addressed, I want to address it immediately, because I don't want, especially if I'm doing something wrong and I'm not aware of it, mm-hmm. and then a year later, all of a sudden you blow up at me for that, and I say, hey, look, if you told me what I was doing wrong a year ago, I would have happily fixed this with you by communicating.
But instead, you spent a year.
But instead, you. And I do put responsibility on the other person, obviously depending on exactly, specifically what's going on.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously there's some things, if you're wronging someone in a certain way, there's no excuse. But if it's just like little things that someone's like, they have a problem with, and they don't speak up, and then a year later they blow up at you, I feel like there's some responsibility on that person for keeping quiet. It's their responsibility to communicate what's a problem to them as well.
Yeah.
So we don't have those problems in our relationship.
And you learn that in your relationship, and you apply that in your family and in your friendship relationships also.
Exactly. Okay. And it's always been a problem for me in the past, and it's something that when I got with her, I applied it and then also grew on those skills with her. So we can sit down and have a conversation. If there's something that, if there's any problem that either of us have with each other, we're really good at sitting down and communicating calmly and finding the solution, as opposed to arguing, ignoring it, making it worse by ignoring it, which is the worst thing for me.
Yeah. Nice. So, anything else you've learned that you want to point out?
That's the big one for sure. Just how to act like an adult in a relationship, which most people that I know don't have those skills.
No. Which is many adults do not claim adults, but don't have the skills of adulthood.
It's very shocking, but that's the big one for sure. And
right. Sounds good.
I mean, what other aside from communication, what do you think's a very important social skill or emotional skill to have in a relationship?
Oh, excellent question. Yeah. Emotional would be emotional regulation, and being able to be aware of your own emotions, be aware of what's yours and what's the other person's, and be able to figure out what you're putting on the other person and be able to regulate it enough, whether it's sad, whether it's anger, whether it's happiness, because that leads to manic.
Oh, and you're
kind of
talking
stuff.
about potentially misplaced anger? Displaced anger?
Yes, in a way. If you're displacing it onto your relationship instead of owning it for yourself.
Yes.
So that's a skill that's really important in relationships, to be able to know what your emotions are, be aware of them, be able to articulate them, be able to own them yourself instead of putting it on the other person, and then being able to handle other people's and be able to not take on theirs.
Right.
Because especially certain emotions like
Because
anxiety.
it's not your responsibility to take on somebody else's.
No, it's your responsibility to work on your own and support theirs, but not take them on.
Yes.
And that's what makes it for a healthy relationship. And a lot of people, especially with sadness or anxiety, it's people eat it. And so you feed off of other people's anxiety and you feed off all those people's depression, and you're like, now I feel all depressed, and it's because you're taking it from that other relationship. So that's an emotional one.
How
really
does
important.
someone do that? Like, let's say you're in a state of debilitating depression, but you're also in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep from putting that on the other person? How do you do that?
It's incredibly hard to do. The steps are your own awareness of what's yours and owning that, and then your awareness of theirs. And if you have healthy enough communication, it's being able to communicate with them about whose is what, and then being able to take care of yourself well enough to be able to address your depression, address your anxiety, address your situation that's yours, that you have control over. Because true power, because this is the other part of learning,
comes with great responsibility.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And that is an excellent quote. It's power over yourself. It's not power over anybody else. So you can't be like, I'm going to make you less depressed. You can be like, I'm going to take care of myself so I'm less depressed, and that's going to make you feel better too.
Yes.
Because I feel better because I care about you. And those skills of self-awareness, those skills of emotional regulation, those skills of communication that you're pointing out are some of the foundational things that build on healthy relationships. And those are the things to look for. And you're right, there's skills that we might see as we're growing up developmentally, but we may not experience yet, or we may not be aware of them enough to know this is the stuff we need to do.
Right.
But that's what makes us healthier, and that's what improves our relationships. And the other major piece that I'll highlight in that is what you and your story illustrates also, is you reach deeper levels of intimacy.
Yes.
And as you reach deeper levels of intimacy, that vulnerability, being able to be comfortable for yourself with that vulnerability, and then being able to be comfortable for somebody else's vulnerability. Those are skills also that are vital in healthier relationships.
Okay.
Whether it's a roommate, whether it's a friendship, whether it's family, whether it's a dating relationship, or intimate relationship, if you are not comfortable with their level of intimacy, then you're not going to have more support or give more support.
Okay.
And that's a lot of places where things break down, is because it's like, oh, if I just see you out at Mike's and I say hello, if you're a mess, you're not going to look for me for support. I'm not going to look for your support because I'm not aware of you and we're not vulnerable enough.
Right.
And if you're in a relationship and you're at that same level, you're going to screw up that relationship.
Yeah, then it's an enormous problem.
Yes.
Especially if you live together.
Yes, with the people who are your closest to.
Yeah. Yep. I suppose if you didn't live together, the relationship would just rot and die immediately.
Or blow up.
Yeah.
Because of something that you interpreted that might be yours or might be theirs. And you're not vulnerable about it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
See, this is why I think therapy is important, because I ask those questions not just to try to continue the conversation. I was genuinely curious about what I asked, and that's an interesting answer. And I actually didn't think about stuff like that. It makes me want to get back into therapy, because I want to ask more specific questions about deeper things about myself. Because I mean, people that do it for a living obviously can shed light on stuff that you would never even think about.
Yep, and I encourage doing that, and encourage. That's part of why I'm doing this, and we talked about before.
And by the way,
to share some of that stuff.
By the way, this is a real therapy session.
But I'm not your real therapist. So,
okay, on paper.
It may feel like that because it's an intimate conversation about you and your relationship. But the difference between this and therapy is that I then take on responsibility to be able to support you in the stuff that we're talking about. You leave here and get the supports, and as your friend, I will refer you, I will support you, but I will also dump my stuff on you too.
Okay.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, give and take.
Yes, but, as opposed to having somebody for you. So I encourage you to do that, and I'll help support you in getting somebody.
Yeah, I want someone. I mean, I just feel like I'm too picky because I've been on the internet. I go on Psychology Today, and I'm looking at all these different people, and I'm like,
I encourage you to be
like,
picky
she went to
on there
Yale.
too, so.
Like I'm like, she went to Yale. I want to see her because she's way smarter than me. Because I felt like, and not to sound like, but like I've had in the past years ago, like social workers where I'm like talking to them about what's going on specifically, and I didn't feel like I was smarter than them. I don't want to say that, but I did feel like I know more about the psychology of my own condition than you do, and therefore I'm not going to get anything out of this.
Right. Well, and you should, because therapy isn't giving advice. Therapy is helping you figure out your own problems.
Yeah,
and creating
I want
space
someone
to do
that's
that.
at least. I mean, all my education about my condition comes from the internet. I want someone that's classically trained in psychology that can describe to me neuroscientifically as well exactly what's going on. And a lot of people think with chronic pain it's because the pathways from the brain to the pain receptors are burned open. And to undo that is an insane process.
Right.
That takes an insane amount of commitment. And sometimes I think, I don't even know if I'm the type of person that can do that. I mean, I hope I am, but like the amount of effort that I envision having to put in to make that possible almost seems impossible, unfortunately.
But that's part of the
I've been getting by. Like I have like my little methods. I'm like, I go to the gym, I do certain exercises. I literally go on the exercise bike or an elliptical or run laps. I do cardio just to prove to myself that my heart's healthy. Because in the back of my mind, there's someone saying, your heart's still...
I love that.
Yeah, that's why the pain's there.
That probably helps, so that's great.
Yeah, but just to go back to what we were just talking about, we were talking about people that are depressed and putting their trauma onto somebody else, which is what you shouldn't do, right? But I feel like these people that are doing things like that aren't in therapy. Well, or sometimes they are, but they're just not putting it into practice.
Or they're not ready enough to be able to own their own stuff.
Yeah.
Which owning your own stuff is a hard part of therapy, and it's a hard part of living, and a hard part of relationships.
Taking responsibility for what's going on in your own head, where you are is actually determined by your own everyday actions, your own everyday decisions.
And your emotions.
But also those people that do that, they do it thoughtlessly. Like they're not conscious of like, oh, I'm this person over. They're not in their head saying, oh, I'm putting this on them. I'm a bad partner.
Right.
They're not aware of that, right?
Well, then this is a foundational belief about humanity, and it depends on who you are. My foundational belief about that is just about everybody has a good intention and is trying to help themselves and other people.
Most people, yeah.
But and even people who do very destructive things are doing them to be able to feel better or do better, but they're not aware, or once they become aware, it's more important for them to do the action for a different reason or justify it than it is to work together with people to do it. And that's one of the hard parts about humanity, but also relationships.
So they either justify or they just don't think about it at all.
Right.
They're deliberately clueless.
Well, they might be clueless, and then once they're aware, they might be deliberately clueless because it's too hard to admit and acknowledge and be like, no, I own this. I'm not going to.
Yeah, because sometimes, some people justify the most outrageous things to where it's like, I'm actually impressed that you could convince yourself what you're thinking is true.
Yep.
Some people are too sane to do that, so they have to suppress it. That's what they have to do. But anyways, what I was getting to is, in past relationships, I've displaced anger. I've been in a bad mood and then treated my partner less than not as good as I should have because of my bad mood, which isn't their fault. I've done that.
Yeah, we all do that.
Right. We've all done it at one point or another, but then that's what I wanted to get back to is in my current relationship, I learned not to do that, which I think I would have learned eventually anyways because, I mean, it's just part of being a decent human being.
As long as you do the work
as long as
you continue to be a decent human being.
As long as you're not a moron. It's like, hold on. And people do it all the time, adults. I'm like, you're not mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife just left you, and now you're gonna cut me off and flip me off on 490.
Yeah,
it's insane, and you can tell it's just like, bro, you're an adult. Like, control yourself.
Yeah, and that's why you consider everybody.
That's not my fault. Your wife left you. Yeah.
Yep.
But anyways, I learned not to do that, and I think the difference was in my current relationship was I actually really, really loved this person, so it forced me to be more thoughtful with my actions. Like, if I'm in a bad mood, I'm not putting that on her, and I chose to be more thoughtful because I cared more.
Because you love that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much, Kevin.
That's it?
Unless there's anything else you want to say to me or any
How
audience.
long was that?
I don't know. Probably about 40 minutes. It would be my guess.
46.
Yeah.
Well, you said between 10 and 40.
10 to 45.
So we went. There's no wrap-up question or anything?
The wrap-up question is anything else you've learned that you want to share?
Well, you're the interviewer, so it's kind of your responsibility.
Yes. Well, that is my wrap-up question. Is if there's anything else you want to say or anything else you want to learn. It's not specific. It's to wrap that up.
You're putting your work on me now. That's not fair. This isn't a fair relationship. I don't think. No, I think we covered everything that I thought that we were going to talk about, and I feel good about it. So
good. Well, I feel good about it too. I think we got to levels of relationship intimacy, of learning, and hopefully there's stuff that people can relate to.
I thought we were going to talk about sex and all the anal. And
if you want to get into anal, then
a lot of anal
to say about that too.
A lot of anal. She's strap on. A lot of toys. Sometimes it's just. Meat and potatoes, missionary.
Was that like the second after exchanging cellophane and weed things, and you exchanged like strap-ons?
There was some time in between the cellophane and.
So you needed to build some intimacy before you got to.
Actually, one of the first toys we got was something called a cum bucket. I don't know if your viewers are familiar with a cum bucket.
I don't know,
but it's
I'm
not
familiar with
apparently the design of this, it's a mask, and then it has a kind of a bowl right here. It's a latex mask, and then it zips down in the back, and the latex bowl hangs off here. So basically the idea is that you come into the bowl, and then it slides down into the person's face through the mask.
Okay.
And apparently
to swallow or to put all over the face?
To swallow or to swish around, Listerine it, I don't know. But the product, I guess, that particular design isn't in that high of demand. I'm guessing because it was so poorly made, we actually ended up ripping it. Like it was a very thin latex. But yeah, that was one of the first toys we got. Not because we thought like, oh, this is what we're really both into, but because we thought it was kind of funny. We thought it was funny that he even existed. Like, she has a video of me wearing it. And I'm in the basement, and she's filming from outside the basement in the kitchen with the door shut. But there's a doggy door, and it's just like me climbing through it with no shirt on, wearing the mask. Like, it's like a really scary.
Is this one of the sketch comedies, or is it just something you share with each other?
I don't think it was. I mean, we've done some kind of rated R sketches or whatever, but it was just. I think it was just too bizarre. Like, she just told me to do it because she thought it would be funny. And I think she still has the video somewhere. So I'll pull it up, and then at the end of this video, you can edit that clip onto there.
Be like, if you want to come bucket, recommend that one's probably only a 2-star because it ripped. You'd have to find some other 5-star
just
ones.
To end on something funny, the warehouse that we bought that item from, there was a woman that was the general manager of the distribution warehouse for this sex toy website, and her name was... And we always used to prank call her because and I actually feel bad because for her it was just a job. She's not actually into the products themselves. She's in a warehouse setting out boxes.
Selling
they just happen to be sex toys. So we would call her and ask her the most specific question about like weird name toys. I'd be like, yeah, so for the Mr. Johnson 3000 Black Edition, how thick is it at the base? Like, does it get skinnier in the middle? Like, we would ask, like, the weirdest questions with the weirdest names. Like, for the Long Dong 4K, is that going to be a problem with my latex allergy, or what is it made out of exactly? And then she would just be like, I don't.
Is it a throwback to Y2K in 2000? Where is it?
Yeah, and she would just be on the phone like, I don't.
Trying to answer the question.
She would be on the computer like trying to actually help us, but we just she would end up saying some hilarious things, and we have some funny prank call recordings from that.
Nice.
But yeah, nice. I don't know. End on that, whatever.
Right. Well, is there anything you'd like to promote or anything? Huh.
Oh yeah. Will this come out before St. Patrick's Day?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, well, if this comes out before St. Patrick's Day, I'm hosting comedy at the Carlson for Jamie Lissau. I think he's from Rochester.
Yeah.
A Rochester guy.
Yeah.
The guys that he's on the Rob Schneider TV show.
Yeah.
So I'm hosting for that guy. Yeah, we saw him. I think I saw him twice, maybe 3 times if you count. When we saw him open for Rob Schneider, it wasn't that funny. I like Rob Schneider in movies a lot, though. He
was really
hilarious.
good at the end when he came on stage with Rob Schneider and bantered and told a bunch of jokes together.
I missed that.
Was really
that
fun.
Sounds
great. One of his shows, yeah.
Rob Schneider's at his best in Grown Ups. I think he's so funny. Where he's married to a really old woman, and all of his friends are like, "Oh, what the hell is going on?" It was a funny idea. But yeah, we'll end on a random Rob Schneider bit.
It can end better than on Rob Schneider.
Right. And I just wanted to say fuck a couple more times to make Kevin have to edit. You're gonna bleep that?
I'm gonna silent it out, so it'll go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna text Tori and tell her that we're done, so she can come pick me up.